Hey everybody, it's Scott Weller here. Hope you can see me. Let me find my camera. There we go. Hey. So huge update today from MidJourney. They have released version 4, version 3, which is much better at faces. So obviously I had planned all the strategy on how to get faces out of 2, which was not that great. But a lot of these things have applied to version 3 as well. So I think we can get a version 3 face even better. So I kind of want to discuss some of those strategies and things. And then I want to talk a bit about how to take it to the next level, even if you're not a Photoshop person, how to get a little bit more out of the image that MidJourney will give you, and then how you can kind of perfect it. So we're going to jump into MidJourney, and then we're going to take a little bit of adventure. We're going to work on an image kind of live and see where it goes. And then at the end there, I'll put some of the other places, some of the other resources and things we can do to it afterwards to kind of perfect it. So as always, feel free to comment as we go here. And if you have any questions, comments, or you have ideas on things we should be doing in MidJourney, please put them in the comments below. And let's get started here. So I'll pop over to MidJourney here. Now I have done a few kind of test ones first with Medusa that I was working on here. And by the way, I do put jazz in the background because I don't like dead air in there. And I know someone had said they were annoyed by the jazz. So I had 3 options. Was the death metal bluegrass, the Tibetan throat singing, or the jazz. I decided to go with the jazz. So there you go with that idea. So by the way, I can pop up my little camera over here if you want to look at the side of my head, because my camera's over here and my monitor's here. So I'm going to look this way. Anyway, so I did kind of a Medusa thing here, and I did a few, and this is with version 3, as I said, went live this morning. And the faces are much better than they were before. There's still room for improvement, but we're not looking for something right now, or at least I'm not looking for something right now that's photographically perfect. First of all, I'm a full-time photographer, so obviously if this can take a photo of something that doesn't exist, that could cause some real issues later on down the line. So we got to be a little careful with that. And obviously this whole AI making of images that aren't true can become an issue at some point, but we'll have to deal with that as it comes down. I'm sure new rules will start to come into place as things happen. I originally thought that MidJourney was messing up the faces on purpose, just because of the way things work. Hands to look like a bag of sausages. Yes, they have issues with fingers, that is for sure. So the updates today, a couple things I want to talk about. Aside from the updates from just the faces looking a lot better, they've also added a quality modifier. So the quality modifier allows you to have an image created that costs less, and I assume that's going to impact the accounts and the cost of images generated per month. But you can have everything from a 0.25, which is like a 1/4 of its quality, up to a 5, which will take up to 5 minutes to render, but you'll be a lot more in depth. So the idea there is to kind of let the engine, to kind of determine how hard you want the engine to push on the quality of its result. 1 is the default, and we're just going to leave it there. Although they are offering everyone that is paid right now, I believe, an upgrade. So they're giving them some free credits to kind of give them an opportunity to play with that to see where that goes. And then there's also a stylized command. So the stylized command starts at I can't remember where number it starts at. I think it's like 2500, and it can go all the way down to 625, or basically you're turning it off. Stylized is where the AI is kind of putting its interpretation or its spin on what it is that you've added. So if you put in terms and you want specifically those terms, then 625. If you put the stylized on there, it's not going to have a lot of wiggle room or interpretation. It'll go up to 60,000, in which case you're basically rolling dice, and it's going to mostly ignore what it is that you typed in. And I've tested this, and yes, you get some completely weird results. So we'll play that with a bit and kind of see where that goes. Anyway, so I did some Medusa ones here. I'm working on a Medusa image, and I have photography set up for it. It's actually a body paint that I did, and I want to kind of take that body paint and combine it with some AI art. And that's another thing I'm going to do as another video, is take these and kind of put them into some serious Photoshop and post-production work to see what I can make from them. That'll be another video, obviously, because that's going to be quite the process and may not appeal to everyone on this channel. By the way, Tuesdays will still be my Capture One and Photoshop days, so I'm going to keep those coming. So if you're wondering what happened to the live stream for those, it's still coming. I'm just kind of branching out here because I'm really enjoying this, so I thought I'd share it on the channel. So let's go ahead and continue with this Medusa here. But let's use some of these new commands. So we're going to use, by the way, somebody asked me a question about if the aspect ratio and the word wallpaper, which is supposed to be a predefined aspect ratio, brightened the image, and I have to say that it does. So using -- wallpaper produced a significantly different image than just using aspect ratio 3:2, for example. So be aware that this may not do, or may do additional things that maybe we weren't aware of before. I just thought it was an aspect ratio thing, but it may not be. So let's go here and let's add some stylized, and let's add, as I said, I think the default is like 2500 or something like that. I have to check it out. But let's stylize this thing up to like 30,000, just to kind of see what hilarity ensues. So I'm looking for obviously something that looks kind of like Medusa standing in front of a castle. Now these horizontal ones here were pretty decent, and I like those. The vertical ones, if we notice when we do vertical images, we oftentimes get more than one face, and that's because it doesn't really know what to do with the rest of the image. So giving it more information as to what else you want to see in the scene can sometimes help that. I mentioned this last live stream. For example, if they're standing on something, or for example, what their feet are doing, or if there's something on their head or things along that lines, if that's part of this, then it knows I have to render feet. Kind of think of it like if you're explaining it and you're not making any leaps in what's going to be in the image. If I say I want a portrait of a beautiful woman, or have a beautiful woman, a picture of a beautiful woman, I'm going to get, it could be anything. But if I say I have a beautiful woman standing on something, I'm going to get more full body shots, for example. If she's standing on a castle, if she's standing on a dais, I should say, in a castle, or in front of a throne, which is kind of why I put that in there. This whole throne in a castle. We could take the in a castle part out and let it do what we want. I'm going to leave it in here now so we don't change too many variables at a time. I think that's an important part of pretty much learning any software or learning any process, is don't change a whole bunch of variables and then go, that looks really good. I wonder what I did. Change one thing, see what its effect was. If you don't like that thing, change it back and then change something else. Don't continue to change like 8 things, because then you're not going to know what exactly did the magic that you want to do. And that's a really important part of learning pretty much anything in my mind. So we're going to start here, and we're just going to add a stylize and see what's going to happen. In the meantime, I did want to upgrade one of these, or update one of these, and kind of see what it looks like. One that has a face in it. So this face looks pretty nice. But as I've talked about Midjourney strategy in general, I think one of the things we need to do is to find an image and then work on variations of that image. The chance we're going to get what we want from these roll of dice the first time is pretty low. So let's go ahead and roll the dice on this version 3, or this third image again. It's pretty good now. I think it's pretty good now. In fact, it's good enough. Let's upscale it to kind of see what that looks like and see what it looks like. I'm just going to repeat myself. Let's move into fast, by the way. Because we don't really want to wait a whole lot of time. I have to say though, it's pretty responsive. Even in the relaxed mode, I'm been very happy with the speed at which this thing is kicking out images. That may just be me. By the way, if you enjoy this kind of thing, click the like button, because it makes everyone aware that I'm doing these, and that helps me a lot. All right, so let's take a look at, that's upscaling currently at 53%, so we got to give that a while yet. Let's take a look at this. These are other variations. They're all angry. Yeah, I don't really like any of those, so we won't continue there. And then here are our stylize at 30,000. So our Medusa, yeah, I don't really see a Medusa much in there anywhere. Maybe whatever this is, very interesting. They're all very interesting, but they're not very Medusa-like. So I'm going to say the stylize here. So let's take the stylize again, but let's apply a much lower value. As I said, 625, they said they think was pretty much turning it off. So let's try that and see what hilarity ensues. And this one's almost done upscaling. Now, using Discord as an interface here was a pretty interesting decision. Not something I would have totally thought of, because now I'm dependent on another product that isn't my product. So if I were making this, I would want to make it probably just a web interface in case Discord goes down, which did happen a couple days ago, where there's a problem with the Discord backend, and they had to wait for the Discord team to fix it. But I must say, just from a standpoint of communication and ability to interact, Discord's a pretty great option. We use it a lot for image competitions or photography competitions because we can all join in a room where the judges can't hear us and we can have separate discussions. Because an 80 is considered a great score or a merit score, we call it Club 79, which is when the judge gives you a 79 and you're all mad about it. So that's Club 79 is for swearing and drinking, basically. We actually do this live and at the conventions where I speak or judge, where we'll have a separate suite set up with booze and snacks, and people will go in there and we'll watch the simulcast of the judging live as a Club 79. Okay. Much more Medusa-like, and still pretty good. So this Stylized, I don't know that Stylized, I'm trying to figure out what Stylized is doing here, because this, I'm very happy with this, even though it didn't have a very low stylized selection. These are still very different images. I was expecting something a little bit more in line with, I don't know, where they would be more similar, I guess. But I'm pretty happy with that. Here's our upscaled max version of this. Let's pop this out into a browser and take a look at it. That is a much better face than before. Much better. Again, this system tries to shoot more painterly than anything else. So let's talk about ways that we could make this image better. And first I want to talk about a tool that is not part of this, but you should be aware of it because it is one of those things that I don't know, it's useful. It's very useful. And I think I closed it accidentally. Let me open it up. Oh, it's this one here. I just minimized it. It's Tencent. Now I'm going to put a link to this down below. In fact, I think I already did. But it's Tencent, arc.tencent.com. It is in Japanese, or it's Chinese, simplified Chinese, but it translates to English, or most of it's in English. What this system does is it restores the face to a usable face, and it does a fantastic job. So if you are, I don't know why this isn't working right now. I had it working earlier. But this is fantastic. You can just upload an image and then download the fixed version. So if you're not a Photoshop person and you really don't get how to do face restoration, that's exactly what this thing does. And it works very well. Except their website apparently is a little wonky with whatever I did to it earlier. So there you go. But anyway, I put the link down below. You see if it works for you. I did run a test through it and it did a fantastic job. Now I'm very comfortable retouching skin, so it isn't really a tool I'm going to use. But I thought it was pretty damn impressive. All right, so this is great. How can we make this better? And that's the whole reason why we're doing this live stream today, is what can we do to make things better? Now, in version 2 of MidJourney, which, by the way, you can put version 2 in a prompt if you would like to see the older version. What we are using now is version 3. So you can type that in, but it is, I believe, by default version 3 for everyone now. But if you wanted the older version, that's this. If you were using --test before, that will no longer work. It will throw an error and say, by the way, you should be using version 3 now. So if you're wondering what's going on with that, that's what has changed there. So one of the keys, or a couple of the keys to working with trying to make faces better in AI, and this is in general, is to let the AI know that this is an area of focus. So we have a face, yes, and we have a Medusa. Right now, those are equal weight to something. So if I were to just explain to you that every single term in your sentence, or every single noun in your sentence, is just equally important. So the castle, the throne, her standing, it's all equal. So what we need to do is we make it more impressive to the image that this is an important part, is that the face is important. Well, how can we make that a focus? And it's really, the goal is to make it a focus. Force the AI to think strongly about what it is that you're trying to do with that image. So for example, let's just go with Medusa here. What kind of Medusa do we want? Do we want an evil one? Well, we could have an evil Medusa. Or we could do a beautiful Medusa. So a beautiful Medusa. Now it knows that the concept of beauty, obviously, it's looking through a lot of pictures and it's going to try and focus on something beauty. But more importantly is the concept of, I have said I want something specific about the face. I don't just want a Medusa. I want a beautiful Medusa. So it's now saying, okay, well, let's go back and let's redo the face because it needs to be beautiful. That same thing, anytime we force the engine to kind of look more closely at a specific item, it should try and do more work in that area. And again, from the concept of redundancy, we can add more things. So at the end, we could say cute. We could say lovely woman, like this. So let's take the word cute out of this. Let's say lovely woman. So we've added beautiful and we've added lovely woman. And let's run that one and see what happens. And we should get a better result, a better face. Now this is, again, a version 2. One of the very basic ways in version 2 to force it to give you a better face was to make it focus on the face. Now I've got another thing here. So this comes back, we'll try a couple other things. But this has worked pretty well. And as I said, I was getting some really good images out of version 2 to the point where it's like, I can really make this thing sing. Now, obviously, this is a huge upgrade for everybody. But if you're going to be using other AI tools, and there's quite a few other ones out there now, there's a lot of other image tools that are coming out. And I think they're all really great. They're all exciting. I love this one because it's so creative. Its ideas are much more broad and they appeal to me. Probably because I'm a little more darker souled, but I'm very happy with this right now. So let's see what it comes back with here. All right, almost done. I don't have any dad jokes to tell you while we're waiting. I could get some, I guess. I could work on that. All right, so here we go. Obviously getting some really nice imagery here. Beautiful face. Obviously the rest of we need to work on the whole theme or concept we're doing. I guess we're focusing on the face today. This is pretty decent. I'm pretty happy with it. Let's update, or let's upscale this first one here and kind of see what that looks like. And maybe we'll re-roll the fourth one. Or again, a button I kind of ignore, which I learned I really shouldn't ignore, is this one. Just roll the whole thing again and see what kind of random thing we get. So while we're waiting on those two, let's try this again, but let's add one more aspect to this. And again, what can we do that isn't kind of saying beautiful, cute, lovely, beautiful, you know, being redundant, is being very specific about aspects of the face. We could say that she's a lovely woman. We could say slight smile. That might work. I've also seen people use Symmetrical Face, which is very handy. Now, it was handier early because one eye would be completely wonky and the other one would be normal, and that was like a big challenge. A lot of that appears to have gone now, but Symmetrical Face. I also see a lot of people using single face or one face because you would have more than one face in a scene. And again, a lot of that was because the engine had an aspect ratio and it had to try and fill the screen with something. So you'd have like random eyes and lips and noses show up in weird places. A lot of that appears to have been kind of resolved. But we'll run this slight smile now. So let's take a look at here, our upscale. And that is pretty damn good. I'm quite pleased with that. Very, very nice. So that worked out pretty well. The rest of the scene's trash, but we're working on the face right now. So I'm pretty happy with that. Wish I could find that let me find that Tencent. Let's see if that was just me before. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with the with that site right now. It was working fine earlier. So let's take a look here. Again, another re-roll turns up different imagery. This one's pretty promising. Let's roll on that one. All right, so how can we, one more way to improve this, or other ways to improve it. By the way, that re-roll generating, again, random imagery that we may or may not like. But I like the idea of just kind of giving it a little something extra to see what happens. And lovely woman. This is a re-roll, and here's our slight smile. We'll wait for that one to get done. Come on. All right, so here's our re-roll on that image. And the faces has gone to hell with these, so although I do like the rest of the image, or it's more interesting, I should say, than the other ones were. And then here's our slight smile. This should give an even better result because, again, we're telling it a detail about the face, and it should focus on that face. Okay, I got one more trick to offer for getting really pretty faces out of this, or better faces out of this image, and that is to give it an example of a face that you would like it to look like, because it's going to try and find more examples of that person. So if it's something obscure, like, hey, your mom, don't give it, say, hey, my mom, because who knows what the hell's going to, that would be kind of a fun example, though. But give it a specific actress. So, like I Googled just a bunch of people that would have a lot of pictures on the web, obviously, like Scarlett Johansson. So let's just throw that one in there. So we say lovely luminous slight smile, and then we could say face like Scarlett Johansson. So this is forcing it to use her likeness, parts of her face. It should not look exactly like her. Obviously, that could be a significant problem because we have photos of her actually as Medusa. Yeah, but the idea is that we'll have something where we're giving it specific facial things. So we should look for fuller lips, darker or red hair. Things along that lines will kind of affect that. So depending on who it is you're picking, you're going to get things that look like that. Now, that may not look exactly like her, which I hope it doesn't. But this, by giving her an example or a face, giving a direction, slight smile, saying we want beautiful, lovely, cute, trying to give it more direction that way toward the face, and that redundancy should be a really nice combination of things that yields a good result. So we'll see here as it's working. And these turned out okay, but again, we have that multiple head thing going on. I should be giving it more direction as to what I'm looking for. So this is almost done here. And I think these look really great, by the way. I'm very happy with these. I mean, I'm a Scarlett Johansson fan anyway, so we can't be disappointed with this if they look like her, or remotely like her. But let's take this while this is working. All right, stands from the castle, and again, you pick based on artists you love or things that you're looking for. If you want oil on canvas, you want it rendered. In fact, I think it'd be kind of interesting to do one of these as a render. Octane Render. That would be very different than what we had before. Let's take a look at this. And we should have this over here. We should have a pretty good face in all of these, or multiple faces, as it were. Yeah, I think that these are okay. Obviously, when we upscale these, we can already kind of tell what flaws might occur. So I can't really say that I'm super happy with those. But they're way better than this tool was a couple of days ago. So it's already improved a lot. So let's try it with no aspect ratio here, or more of a common, so 3:2, so a wider one, so we get more of an epic scene. In fact, let's ask for an epic scene, just so we have something a little bit more wider, just to kind of see what happens. Now, we haven't really even played with the stylized command. Remember that its default, as I said, I think it's like 2500 or something along that lines. It has a lot of room to wiggle. Let's wiggle that a bit. Oops. I just purged it. It'd be really nice if it just kept what I just did in the buffer, but I understand it can't do that. Let's try a few of the new ones. So we're going to do quality 2. The default is 1. Remember that. So let's push it to double the quality, and I would also like to do stylize, and let's stylize it at, say, 10,000. So that's a pretty aggressive upgrade from its standard stylize, which, as I said, I think it's like 1200 or 2500 right in there. Epic scene, and see what happens here. So I love the new tools, the new ideas behind the tools too is pretty powerful. All right, here we go. These are the Octane Rendered versions. This one is very interesting. I just like the scene, I should say. I really like the scene. Yeah, these are okay. I like this one. So because this one has problems, but I like it, that's okay. Let's roll the dice on this one because I think it's got promise. Let's roll with those and see what happens. I'm okay with, again, the fact that you're not going to get what you want the first time out of the gate. Just have patience to continue to re-roll the dice on the scene, looking for, hopefully, that thing that you really love, what you're looking for out of it. And again, I wouldn't go into this with a specific scene in mind because you're not going to get that scene, but if you're looking for an idea, a random idea, this is a great place to start with it. As I said, to me, this is not the final artwork. This is not, hey, I made this and I'm the artist. It's like, the computer was the artist and I basically was the prompter for the artist. But if I can take this and then combine it with photography, combine it with other imagery or paint or so on, then it becomes art. And this was my sketching, basically. This is my idea phase or ideation phase of me sketching on paper and coming up with different ideas and trying to make something. I'm replacing that part of the concept with this part of the concept. So don't get all bent out of shape going art is dead when it's not. This is not my art. I can copyright this, by the way. They have changed that whole method now where we are now the owner of the image. But right now, copyrighting AI art is a sketchy thing because the copyright law is not really built for it yet. So I'm not a lawyer, but I know that that's a little wonky still. So we got to wait for that one. This is almost done here with that quality 2. And these, let's see what these look like. There's some horrific faces in here. Wow. I have to say, I really like the first one the best. This one here, let's upgrade that one. Let's see what we get. All right, here's our quality 2. Wow. This is my first chance using quality 2. Look at the work it's trying to do on the skin here. That's very interesting. Very interesting. Scarlett Johansson was a horrible pick for this. Looking at it now. But it gives you a really good idea of what it's capable of. Well, as I said, I've been working on this Medusa project for a while, and I'm kind of going a different direction with it. I want to make something I can print and then paint on. And one thing I think I'm going to do, because I have sponsors in this in the photography industry, is I'm going to see if we can put together a contest. I'm doing a Twitter contest now that's weekly. So I'm on Twitter. I'm just SE Detweiler on Twitter. We're doing a weekly AI art competition. But I think I'm going to do one here on the channel and see if I can get some sponsors behind it and see if we can get some of this art that you create printed. So that's my concept right now. I'm going to see if I can put that together, and then we'll do maybe something a little more formal. We'll have a weekly competition or monthly competition. But I don't expect you to just make AI art and then hand it to me and go, hey, look, I'm done. I made AI art. You start with AI art and then modify it. You know, include photography, include your own imagery. Maybe print it and paint on it, you know, smearing paint on it, or using things like Art Rage or Coral Painter or other products along that lines. Would be a really great way to kind of let this be therapy for you too. Like, I draw because I love it. Same reason I do the photography, or the same reason I do body painting. It's a great artistic release. I'm going to re-roll this entire thing, I think, because I wasn't real happy with any of those. And that's why I have that magical re-roll button there. And it's thinking about something right now. And it might just be broken. Who knows? Oh, there we go. So this is that final one. And again, this was from the very first roll. And I don't care about the face because I plan to replace the faces anyway. But that's pretty cool. Where is this? Why is this Tencent thing not working? That is just totally bizarre to me that this was working earlier. I wonder if they took it down because so many people were using it. It might be. I like these statues in the background. That's pretty interesting. All right, let's see what our last one is here. If we're re-rolling this one. I don't know if the Octane Render there makes me happy either. Although I know it's much more realistic. We could go with a photograph of instead of a render. We can do, again, be more descriptive. I think we've got plenty in there for the face to make it feel good. But a photograph would be here. And slight smile. I'll get rid of that. Face like Scarlett Johansson. So, and 1, 2, 3. That. How do these look? They look okay. Obviously, if I'm doing portraits, I want the portraits to be more vertical than horizontal. But in general, I think I'm happy with that. I'm really happy with these ones I did earlier. Actually, these here. These here. This, so very, very minimal prompting produced, I think, one of my favorite images of the day, actually, so far. So I really like this one. More painterly look, I guess, appeals to me than more the photographic look or the Octane Rendered look. Wow, look at this. So I think that Octane Render part of that made the face more awkward. So a good point there. Maybe something worth some testing is to play around to see if the rendered versions just don't look as good. The photograph part here looks like it's coming along quite well. Again, the rest of the scene is meh. She's got quite the hip range going on in that image. That's pretty funny. All right, let's take a look here. Yeah, she's got quite the hourglass figure here. Very good face. I have to say, they still have a little issues with the eyes, or the irises of the eyes, a little bit weird, but overall, I'm pretty damn happy with that. That's pretty impressive. In fact, this is quite usable for more of the close-up portraiture that I do. I have to say, what would be interesting about the scene other than the backdrop? I mean, that's really all we're getting out of this. But I do like this one. It's not perfect, but that's okay. That's what we have this V for. So let's re-roll versions on that. And I want to upscale the second one, just because I think that's good. These Octane Rendered versions, I just didn't really care for that as much. Overall, I didn't like that as much. So if you like the stream, obviously bang on that like button. I appreciate that. Say 1 out of every 90 viewers or whatever bothers to click on the like button. And that obviously helps everyone know these videos are here, which means I'll do more of them. The next videos I'm going to be posting are going to be me taking some of these images and then photo bashing them together with photography that I've shot, as well as other images that I have created in AI. So I have really nice opportunities there to learn some advanced Photoshop stuff. See, I totally thought she was facing the other direction, but this one's leading one way and this one's leading another. I really think this image is still more interesting. Roll versions of that one. And this is, I think, the secret to this engine is not being afraid to continuously re-roll images to see what you can get out of it. Yeah. Just looking at the scene overall, I really like how it's got kind of that painterly feel to it. The person itself, not so handy. Here's our re-rolled version of that. It's taking a very Cthulhu-esque turn now. So I always just kind of knee-jerk react to the image and then kind of go from there and see if which one I kind of like, and then look at them closer. I still think this one's the most interesting, but I don't know that that this scene is worth continuously looking at now. Like, it's fine. It's not really what I'll go with. So I would have to go back and re-roll that scene again. And have I tried a neon style Mason Nest? I have not. That's not really kind of an area that I would go, but feel free. As I say, art is for everybody, right? There's always something out there. That is the upscaled version. Still pretty impressive. This trying to add some actual pore work now. Instead, it used to obviously be much more train wreck of an image. If we do a light upscale redo, that will upscale it, but not add as much grain to it. I'm going to actually make some variations on this one, because again, I think it's interesting, but can it be better? Let's find out. Use a different actress. Who should we use? As I said, I just Googled like a list, and the reason I Googled it is because this system is obviously driving itself from images it's finding online. So you have to use someone that is obviously well photographed and is out there quite a bit. So just by doing a very generic kind of search, you could come up with names. Like obviously Marilyn Monroe is an obvious one. Let's do the same thing, but let's do Marilyn Monroe version because that might be funny. Take the same thing, imagine here, and we'll put Marilyn Monroe in there instead of Scarlett Johansson. Again, changing one variable at a time, seeing what your result is, and going from there. Shifting 18 things at once isn't really going to be very helpful. This is all too similar for me. That stylized version was a little wonky. Here comes our Marilyn Monroe Medusa. I find it interesting too that it'll focus on portraits, and then you'll have one that'll be scene, like a whole damn room, and it's like, wow, that's really, really different. I would expect them all to be face shots or so on. So I like that there's variety in each one of these. And again, if we re-rolled this, who knows what we would get. I think this is terribly fun. I mean, just sit here and spend so much time looking for specific images. But again, the end of the day is, what's your goal with it? If I'm going to try and drive this toward a competition, did I make this piece? Well, no, I prompted an engine and I worked my way through the variables, through the noise to get what it is I wanted. But can I make it mine through modification of it later? Photoshop, Painter, Art Rage, things like that. Absolutely. And that's the fun I'm looking forward to. Oh, these are very... very different. I really prefer this, actually. Interesting that it's almost a black and white down here for this one. This one has got, I just love this, the face, the front on face. I don't care about the gold thing at the bottom. In fact, let's take this, because that's prompting me to think that maybe I just need to get rid of that. A couple times now I've mentioned I hate that gold thing. So Medusa, Medusa. Very low prompting, so who knows what we're going to get. This thing here, how is that a beautiful Medusa? I don't know. Maybe it's all hip. She's got her hip out or something. Interesting detail in the background in this one, though. Look at that scene, the little statues that it put here. That's pretty interesting. Very portrait-oriented. I bet that's because of this aspect ratio. If we were to do this again and try a different aspect ratio, say 1:2, which would be more of a portrait, we might end up with getting that double face situation again because it's so thin compared to so wide. Yeah, it looks like it's already getting some double faces in there. The thing is that I don't know if the prompt of single face or one person is really going to try and fix the problem. I don't know if that's going to fix it. It's because we haven't given enough information about what else we want with the scene, like if she's holding something or dressed in a certain way. I like the... I've seen some really great dress designs that have been done in this, which is fantastic. You know, another thing I just now realized is because most of the pictures of Marilyn Monroe are black and white, that is why we are getting black and white images of Marilyn Monroe. That didn't even occur to me, but yeah, that makes complete sense. So trying to find one that I think is a pretty lady here. I mean, there should be plenty of pictures of Marilyn Monroe that are not black and white, but for some reason it is going that direction. Yeah, I don't know. Yep, multiple heads. This one's really cool. Look at that. Oh, that's a nice little stumble. Let's upgrade that. I want to see what that looks like. These are okay. It bothers me that this isn't in focus, that the face is not in focus. And again, we might be able to fix that by rolling versions against it. Let's roll some versions on that one too. It doesn't hurt to click that version reroll because you never know. You haven't had that much luck with single face. I haven't either. I don't know that it's... I mean, you're trying to tell it one thing, but it rendered the other face because it was lacking information. It's kind of like it filled a void because it didn't know enough. So by giving it more information, it solves that problem of what was the issue that caused it to begin with. So I'm trying to find some pictures here that might be good. I don't know. It'd be, I'm waiting for the point where I can give it my imagery and it will use that more of a point of departure. I shoot a lot of beautiful ladies, so it'd be neat to use one of those. Yuck. I don't like any of the rerolls as much as I did the first image. This one's really nice, except for whatever's going on with the eyes there, but still, that's better than these re-rolls. And how are we doing here? I still think that was the best one, this one here. But anyway, so you get the idea. So I guess the takeaways from today are using multiple terms to talk about the face itself. Like, is it smiling? Is it serious? The structure. You can talk about big eyes, full lips, small nose. Be very specific so that the renderer has to ponder what it is that you're asking it to do. And it isn't just kind of like a random face generator, because that's kind of what that is. But if you're calling attention to those, then it will have less opportunity to make errors in those places because it's running more algorithm against those aspects of it. Now, at the same time, we have to be careful because, again, we're trying to render an entire scene, and if we're handing it, a 1,500 word thing, which is not going to work, we have to be terse about it, what we're asking, but also about the rest of the scene. And then again, a lot of that comes down to rolling the dice and letting it kind of generate the rest of the scene for us and finding one that might be a really good point of departure. So I think that at least that's the kind of the way that I'm looking at it, is what can I do to get the face the way that I want it, but yet have the scene. Now, I plan to replace the faces, so I'm not really so much worried about that, but I think this was a huge upgrade for today. Ooh, another one came by. Let's go look at it here. Yeah, it did an update. I don't know what's going on over here. Some random eyes down in here. But I think this is really interesting. I don't know that I appreciate the texture on there, so I will probably do a light upscale redo. That way it's not as potentially as wonky as that one is going to be. Anyway, so I hope you liked the stream today. As I said, tomorrow will be my Capture One and Photoshop live stream, which I do every Tuesday. A huge thanks to the people that support this channel, my patrons. So I obviously show my you guys are doing. But so tomorrow, Capture One and Photoshop, and then I actually have been working on my I posted a video the other day where I have a new laser cutter, and I'm working on a custom Catan board, so I have laser cut some of my pieces for my Catan board. So I put up a video about that, and I'll post these intermittently. This is not going to be a laser cutting channel, but it's one of those things that it's a hobby, kind of like making soap. Doing this as a photographer, I always want to have something physical to do, because what I do, you can't touch, you can't hold. I mean, hang it on a wall or you put it on your phone, and that's about it. So I have a lot of hobbies that are tactile, things that I can go and do and touch and whatever. From being mixology, so I make all kinds of crazy drinks, to doing these things. So I don't know what the channel wants. Like, everyone keeps telling me don't confuse YouTube by offering too many things, but I'm like, you know what? This is kind of me. It's just like my opportunity to show what I'm working on, and if there are people who have equal interest or similar interest, then this is a channel for you. And I appreciate everybody who's helping me out with it. But if you have any questions, comments, witticisms, criticisms, or heresies and fallacies, throw them in the comments below, and I will answer them. Everybody take care, stay safe.